The Japanese are known for their exquisite craftsmanship, from their beautiful gardens to their high-speed bullet trains. But in the early 1900s, Japan went through a bit of an identity crisis. They looked around and realized they were kind of behind. So they did what any reasonable country would do. They embarked on a massive military buildup, creating a powerful navy and air force. And then they set their sights on world domination. Their plan was simple. First, take over the Dutch East Indies, a cluster of islands controlled by the Dutch that happened to have a lot of oil. Then attack Pearl Harbor to cripple the U.S. fleet, and finally, Midway. Midway was a small atoll in the Indian Ocean, basically a tiny island in the middle of nowhere. But it was also smack dab in the middle of the route between Hawaii and the Philippines. So it was the perfect place to set up a base and launch attacks on shipping and aircraft. But there was one problem. The U.S. knew all of this. How did they know? Well, thanks to a bunch of American codebreakers working in the Pacific Fleet, they had actually cracked the Japanese naval code and knew about the attack on Pearl Harbor before it even happened. In fact, they predicted that Japan would try to take Midway next. So they did something crazy. They sent a bunch of their best ships to Midway to set up an ambush. On June 4, 1942, Japanese planes began dropping bombs on the island, but they quickly ran into trouble. As soon as they got close to the island, they were attacked by American fighters. Within hours, 4 Japanese carriers had been sunk, and with them, 3,000 Japanese soldiers. It was Japan's first major defeat of the war and America's big break. From there, the U.S. was able to push the Japanese back and eventually take back the Philippines and the Dutch East Indies. The tide had officially turned in the Pacific. Okay, now it's time for some rapid-fire fun facts. Here we go. Midway is still an important part of the U.S. military today. After the battle, the U.S. built a huge naval base on the island which is still used today. During World War II, the island was mostly defended by a group of about 750 Marines and 400 Army troops. That's it. It was basically a small group of very brave people who managed to hold off the Japanese long enough for the reinforcements to arrive. After the battle, the U.S. government offered the Marines on Midway a noble salute, essentially a Medal of Honor specifically for their bravery at the Battle of Midway. Only 2 of the 750 original Marines are still alive today. And finally, the Battle of Midway is considered to be one of the most important battles of the entire 20th century. It not only turned the tide of the war in the Pacific, but it also marked the beginning of the end for the Japanese Empire.